ways to take care of also the children. And you're here this morning because of your concern that the holy innocents will not be destroyed as they have been in the past. As you know, I just returned from South Korea. And when I went to go there, right after I was invited to go, North Korea started to bomb the South. In particular, an island right next to the city of Seoul. And I thought to myself, should I fly into Seoul? What will be the conditions when I get there? And so I decided I'm going to go away by way of Tokyo. At the last minute, I said, no, I should just go by Seoul. And if I had gone to Tokyo, I would not be back yet, of course. I would not be back yet. And what happened was, of course, when I got there, it was relatively peaceful. There was no attacks by the North. And everything changed in Japan. Everything. While I was there, about in the middle of the week, all of this began to happen. Of course, you can look across the sea from South Korea to see Japan. Japan is like, they feel like a buffer all the time from natural disasters. But everything began to change, and from a tsunami to the earthquake actually moved. It actually moved the whole of Japan, 8 inches. The whole country was moved 8 inches. Not just a place, not just the whole country was moved 8 inches with that earthquake. And of course the meltdown from the atomic plants, and so everything changed. It was interesting. I was worried about going to Seoul because of a few bombs being dropped, and by the end of the week the safest place was Seoul, and everything had changed in Japan. But it was interesting. Everybody tries to come and to help the people when there's a natural disaster, which is a good thing. But we had a meeting, and at the meeting, the bishop who's in charge of the Right to Life committee for the bishops in Korea, he was saying the Mass, and he was talking about the natural disasters. He said, it's up to 10,000 now. Then he said, but there's a man-made disaster going on in Korea that people are indifferent to. How many people are trying to help? In order for a country to survive, you have to replace mom and dad. And since sometimes children die at birth, they say 2.1 is the minimum replacement level for a country to survive. Not too long ago, in South Korea, the replacement level was 4.3. And something has happened there. Who has done this to them? They brought me to his field. In this field there was 1,000 white crosses. I said, what is this? What is this for? They said, Father, every day 1,000 abortions take place in South Korea. And the bishop said, we're all concerned with how many are dying from the natural disaster in Japan. It's up to 10,000. He said, but every day in South Korea, we have 1,000 died, 365,000 a year, and it's a man-made disaster. It's not something that you say out of our hands, it's in our hands. But say, how did this come about? They have gone from 4.3 down to 1.1. Now, 1.1 replacement level means by 2050, you'll be reading about the people, South Koreans, in the history books. Who did this to us? How did this happen? And of course, it was not by accident. It's the population controlled people coming from outside. Each of the countries in the East. China was 6.6 replacement level. And China now, of course, is down to about 1.6. They're a dying nation. Each one of the nations in the East are being wiped out by man-made disasters, by people intending to control population until it's out of control. But it's not just controlling population in a nice, neat way. It's destroying the children, the holy innocents. When I went there, it's interesting, I just, with the hands of God, I was asked to come by Monsignor Reilly, and it couldn't have been better. And I thank you for your prayers. I went from Busan to Seoul to Incheon, but I also went to a city in the middle of the island, which is called a place where they have it's like a village, and it's an incredible village. A new religious order runs it, and they take care of the sick and the retarded and children and everything else. It's a magnificent place. It's one of the most beautiful holy places in the world. And I was able to go through the whole tour. But at that place, the week I was there, concerned with what's happening to them as a nation, all the pro-life leaders, the main ones from all over Korea, were going to that place the very week that I was there. And I ended up being able to speak to all the top leaders. A 2-hour session and another 2-hour session and 1,000 people concerned with life, a 2-hour session. It was a magnificent divine setup. Divine setup. And the Korean people are beautiful people, especially the South Korean Catholics. Their faith is just changes them. You can tell a person of faith, and so they are now aware, having gone from the bottom of the South Korea to the top and hitting 4 major places, and hitting by God's divine providence, hitting the main people. And they now are totally aware, and they are unified, and they want to stop it. They want to become once again the light to the east, which South Korea is. It's a very strategic and important country, even for all of Asia. And so it went very well, and I want to extend my thanks to you for your prayers, and it couldn't have gone better. Of course, but in the middle of the week, everything was turning to change. How God does it, you see. And thanks be to God, I wasn't coming back by way of Tokyo. I'd still be there. And so, but you know, as I say, the people in Tokyo, it's awful, but it's a natural disaster, and everybody's trying to help them. Everybody's trying to make people live and so forth. But there's a man-made disaster that we have to become aware of, that's wiping out the face of the earth. That you should have 365,000 abortions a year in a country of 50 million. That's equivalent of the United States of 3 million abortions a year. And so that we need to pray for those people, but there's reason for great hope. There's reason for great hope because they are so good. They're very intelligent. They are very organized and progressive type people. And once they see the truth, once they understand it, then they will act. I'm absolutely convinced on it. And so this morning, on this feast of St. Joseph, we ask St. Joseph to help us all through the world to stop this incredible man-made disaster of the slaughter of the holy innocents. Of course, you know, here in New York City, we are the capital in the world. 41 out of every 100 babies are aborted. And amongst the Spanish, about 50 out of every 100. Amongst the blacks, 60 out of every 100. And in Brooklyn, of course, 70 out of every 100 black babies are aborted. And no concern. I mean, if there was some type of a